something like that I have not done before. So I think in that sense, it was interesting for them to have me and for me to do it.
I mean, people have seen the character promos now. They will watch the episodes soon. They'll realize that I understand why people think it's similar, because it's a bunch of women.
The genre of a crime drama automatically has that. It elicits that response.
The narratives of what is being unfurled and discovered, which is in the now. Then there is going into their personal lives and things. Then the past. So there's a lot happening.
Hi, I'm Juhi Chawla.
Hi, I'm Soha.
I'm Kritika Kamra.
I'm Shahana Goswami.
And you're watching us on peepingmoon.com.
Hello everyone, welcome to peepingmoon.com. I am Rashita Sahani, and today joining me for a super interesting conversation is this amazing cast of Hush Hush, welcoming Juhi, Shahana, Kritika and Soha. Hi you guys, how have you been?
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Firstly, I have to start off by saying that very fewer times we come across a trailer that's so well cut. It put me in so much intrigue, but at the same time, it didn't give away too much. I was just talking to Tanuja about the same thing. What was going in your mind when you were, first offered the show or you were going through the script? We can start with you, Juhi.
First, so I actually just met Tanuja. She came over and she said, I have something very interesting for you. And I've been familiar with Tanuja because through the 90s, I've seen her assisting Mahesh Ji. So somewhere I've known of her being there, but then never had a chance to work with her. And coming from that background of, the way they write, the way they script, the way they flesh out characters in Mahesh Ji's films, I thought, okay, she must be having something there for me to listen to. And it was her conviction in my playing this role, because it's very, very different. It's something unexpected from me. And that was also the charm of it. But of course, it's quite an extreme, as you've seen. I don't know how much of the show.
The first two episodes,
you've seen it.
Yeah.
So yeah, something like that I have not done before. So I think in that sense, it was interesting for them to have me and for me to do it.
Perfect. Soha, now you play a former investigative journalist. Unfortunately, in India, journalism does not have a very fair, good picture painted. We often hear about the profession not being well respected, also because of the kind of work that some journalists do. Did you, while playing this part, did you learn something about the profession that sort of surprised you or interested you?
To be honest, because I'm an ex-journalist, it's not like I'm being seen, covering anything. So it was more about getting into the character of, the kind of dilemmas that Saiba has to deal with when her ethics come into conflict with her situation. Often we're put in a position where we have to make choices in life, and it can be tough. I'm sure all of us have, had to make difficult choices in life. So in terms of journalism, more than playing a journalist, I've been a consumer of journalism. And I've, whether it's television, electronic media, whether it's facing, journalists and being a part of an interview. I've played a journalist in the past also. In terms of a learning experience, I would say that it's when you play a character, you get into their skin, and it makes you more sympathetic to the role of somebody who often has to ask brutal questions. It's a job for you. But there's a person behind the person asking those questions. Often that person is responsible to an editor who's forcing you to ask those questions. That's the answer I normally get. When people ask me things, you can see on their face like, I'm sorry, lekin editor ne bola hai puchna hai. To aap no comment bol dijiye ya jo se. So there's always a human angle to everything. And I think one of the most wonderful things about being an actor is that you become empathetic to more people. The more you travel, the more you live the experiences, you suddenly understand that everyone has a human side, including journalists.
Kritika and Shahana, talking about your characters, and in fact, every character, how much I have watched until now, is very layered, well written, very nicely written, because that's, I think, something we often lack when we make shows like this one. Did it ever, while shooting, take a toll on you as an actor, or are you like that switch off, switch on actor that when you're at shoot, you work and then you're back at it?
There were all kinds of days actually. There were
Okay.
some days that you could switch off, switch on, and some days that were just really emotionally draining. Especially if you've seen the first two
Yeah.
episodes, a lot of that
I know.
was
Yeah.
very draining. And I think more than that, we had a director who would really push us to to go deeper, to feel more, to find something new, in your character, or a way to react to a certain situation, and that was challenging for me. I think that it's to reject your impulse, to reject what comes to you first when you want to convey something, and then go deeper, find explore something new in your character, out of the same universal emotions that all of us feel, is tough. And Tanuja ma'am constantly pushed us to go into that space.
I think actually, it's funny because you said switch on, switch off.
Hmm.
And in a way, that is what one had to do after a point, because it becomes emotionally too taxing to constantly be in that state.
Correct.
But what it was doing was also, I remember through this experience, also reminding myself to constantly be present. If you are present as an actor, which is hard to do with all the paraphernalia of what is going on in your own mind, you're around you, the noise, the set, the things that go wrong, the kind of day you had, everything. But if you can really, knowing the narrative and what you're shooting, if you can really make yourself be present, which is very hard to do, then the reaction and the response comes. And that was something that I think this required us a lot to do, because it was also dealing with, one is that you are showing characters that are responding to things as they're happening. Right? And they are unusual events that none of us have faced in our lives. So we have nothing to tap into and go into. So you kind of had to keep imagining yourself in that situation and react to it and respond to it in the moment. So I think that was, weirdly, it was switch on, switch off, but that itself is to be present in every second as an actor, to really be able to keep trying to, at least attempting to do that, is tiring in itself.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that at the end of the shoot, I think, one could switch off from that. And we were also all shooting together. So we were staying in Gurgaon together. So we would have each other as company and as friends to unwind with as well at the end of the shoot.
Perfect. One thing that I found really funny, at the same time very unfair, was there were some comparisons. You replied also, I think, to Diet Savya, saying that it's not true. Now I have watched the first two episodes, so I can for sure
what do
say
you
it's
think?
nothing like, no.
Yeah.
Firstly, I watched the trailer, I knew it's
Big
nothing
Little
like Big Little
Big
Lies.
Little
There's
Lies,
this show they were
Yeah.
comparing it to. But then I knew if it's coming from actors like this and Tanuja, I was sure it's something original and not like inspired by something else. But then I was sure when I watched the first two episodes. How unfair do you think for some people to just jump to conclusions and judge a show or project that has been made with so much hard work right before watching it? They haven't even watched it, just after watching the trailer. What was your reaction like?
Starting with Juhi.
I'm the one to go line wise.
Of all the wisdom and the all is here. I actually have not heard this part of any controversy like this or anything like this. But just something that came to mind, it's a little off, but इसके नाम हो या बदनाम हो, नाम तो है ना. And just the fact that you're important enough to be talked about, I think you should be happy.
And also, like you said, that it's
And-
fine, because ultimately they'll see and know what it is.
But now being discussed on Diet Sabya is a big thing. So I think the show has made it already.
So I'll tell you, I also think that the comparison is flattering because I really like that.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's an iconic show. It's great.
True.
But as things unfold, people have seen the character promos now. They will watch the episodes soon. They'll realize that I understand why people think it's similar, because it's a bunch of women, because it's a crime drama, and there's actually not many shows you can compare it to.
Yeah.
So that comes to mind. But when you watch it, you'll realize that Big Little Lies is very American. This is our characters are not like those characters, and our situations, what is happening in the show, is very Indian.
It's an original series.
Yeah, it's an original series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it also goes to show, like she was saying, to extend on that, that there are such few, that's like saying, oh, imagine if you see our old school Bollywood films, if you just saw a film with a big star and you're like, oh, this is the same as that other star's film, because they're playing a hero or you're playing a cop.
Correct.
you don't do that because there's so many
So
of
many,
them
yeah,
that you
I
won't
know.
even make that comparison. But there's such few shows about a bunch of women or a crime drama with a
That
bunch
like
of
it must
Yeah,
be
women.
just
that
this
one.
That
combination.
just this combination makes you think,
Yeah.
oh, acha, it's the
Acha,
same.
yeah.
You know? So unfortunately now, the more we have, and this is a question that comes often that, maybe I'll get that, you've done something else with 4 women. But just 4 women, meaning like next to you,
Yeah,
say,
they do
you've done,
that up
you've done a
as if,
film
yeah.
with characters. What is it the
Correct,
same? No,
correct.
they're not
Yeah,
the
and I
same.
wanted
You know?
to clarify, it's not a copy.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not a
of
copy.
course.
It's not an official or unofficial remake
Remake.
of anything. It's an original
It's an
show. That's what
original.
I thought was important to be.
I'm sure it was. But it looks very mysterious. It has its own secrets and layers to it. But often it becomes difficult to make the audience at the edge of their seats for 6 to 8 hours. If it's a film, it's a little more easier. But if I ask you, as actors who have worked on this show, what is that one thing that will make Hush Hush very intriguing for everyone to watch?
I don't know. I think there's many. There's not
So
one.
there's
thing.
many.
You know,
Yeah. One of
Just
the
the
many.
way
if
I think
everyone
there's
could
some
answer.
suspense to it.
Unraveled.
Yeah.
Usually I think what keeps you hooked to watching something is that you want to see where the story goes and how it's going to end. If nothing, how it's going to end. Sometimes you just watch it right to the end. And the genre of a crime drama automatically has that. It elicits that response. And I know that every episode will also end on a sort of hook that will keep you glued to your TVs. So I think that in itself, hopefully, good performances will add color to that and other things. But I think the story itself should,
Yeah, I think the
like when you
writing-
can't put down a good
Oh,
book.
exactly.
Yes,
While
exactly.
reading it also, I think we all had
Yeah.
this thing of kind of going through it, and the intrigue is not just in terms of there are so many parallel narratives that are there. There is the narratives of what is being unfurled and discovered, which is in the now. Then there is going into their personal lives
Yeah.
and things. Then the past.
Then the past.
So there's a lot happening.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
as you have seen in the
Yeah,
first step,
I
there's
have.
the groundwork for a lot has been set up.
And it moves also
Right?
quite
Correct,
fast.
yeah.
So in fact, I think each character has its own journey, and not just ours. Even some of the secondary characters beyond our principal characters have their journeys and
Yeah.
intrigue, which is very, very, which only unfurls as we move further along the story.
And their revelations till the end, like till
In
the
a natural
very
way.
last
It's not
scene
even-
of the season.
Yeah.
You're going to keep discovering something or the other.
But it
So I
doesn't
think
feel like something that's withheld. You discover it in a natural course of time as you would in real life.
Fantastic. After this conversation, I can't wait to watch the rest of the episodes. And I hope there is like a season 2, 3, 4.
We hope so
Let's
too.
see
Yes,
where this goes.
hopefully.
But thank you so much for this conversation. All the very best for the show.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
We just need a channel bite with your names, and you're watching us on peepingmoon.com.
Together.
All of us.
No, single.
So we'll
All
introduce
of-
ourselves, then we can,
Say you're watching us on peepingmoon.com together.
starting with Juhi.
Peepingmoon.com. Oh, so you want us to say our names first?
Correct.
And then we'll say,
And
And
then
then
and
together
you're
you're
watching
watching
us
us on
on-
peepingmoon.com.
Yeah. हो जाएगा कर
हो
लेंगे.
जाएगा, tension
Into
मत
that
लो.
camera.
Okay.